Yep, good to see everybody. Yeah, Nick Furnell, I'm technical pre-sales, I'm senior technical pre-sales now, it's probably an age thing. Been Veeam for 8 years, had various roles in Veeam, but now support the commercial team. So it's good to meet everybody. I think I've spoken to a fair few out with the stand already.
Perfect. And for anybody who doesn't know who Veeam are as an organisation, so we're an independent software vendor who specialise in data protection and ransomware recovery. So very much, I think, the focus of what these sessions and seminars that you've been a part of today, we can almost help bridge the gap when it comes to securing your data and really making sure that it's recoverable. We're really thrilled to be a part of this event. We've been coming here for many years now, and it's something, again, that we're incredibly proud to be a part of and continue to do so as the years go by. Essentially, what we want you in the room to get out of this from our side is to achieve true confidence in your cyber resilience strategy. And if you have no confidence or you're not too sure of what your strategy would be, we hope that it will become a little bit clearer how Veeam can assist you as this presentation goes on. We'll be on the stand later today, so just please feel free to come and ask us any questions, and yeah, we're more than happy to support. But today is more about looking at sort of practical strategies for you to protect your data in a world where obviously the cyber threats are now evolving constantly. We'll go through some new product updates, V13, and also touch on immutability and how we can secure that data as well. So really, to start things off, I think, yeah, everybody sees in the news at the moment, it seems to be more or less every week or almost on a daily basis that another organisation is being targeted and affected by ransomware. We don't need to name them because everybody in the room will have seen the news that's came over the recent weeks and months. And the sad reality really now is that it's more of a matter of not if, but when you are to be victims of a cyber attack. So it's more pertinent now, more than ever, to make sure that you do have the right strategy in place and that the right peoples and processes are aware of what their role is in ensuring you are truly resilient with your data. I think the overlap is really growing between cybercrime and cyber warfare. That's what we've noticed really over the past few months. Criminal groups are now hired for nation states, as opposed to this being sort of siloed incidents that we were seeing maybe over the past sort of 12 to 24 months and beyond. They are becoming far more sophisticated, these cyber criminals, and it's important for us to make sure that we are responding to that aptly. And in terms of the skill gap that is within organisations at the moment, not everybody truly knows the role that they play or who should be responsible for certain areas. And I think with Veeam, one thing that we really pride ourselves on is that it's not a service that we offer for you. We want to almost act as a trusted advisor and a partnership. And if you do feel like you're really not in the right space or that you're not getting what you need, Veeam are here to assist and make sure that data protection strategy is completely in place. And it's about reducing the complexity as well. We'll go through, or Nick will present the different offerings that we have in the next few slides, but we give you the choice whether you want to store that data locally on premise within our Veeam Data Platform solution, or we have a more simple and streamlined SaaS offering, Veeam Data Cloud, for if you would prefer almost an as-a-service with the infrastructure being managed by Veeam. So this is almost your traditional 3 lines of defense model that we've seen as almost tried and tested over recent years. So on your first line, you've got almost those operational teams who own and manage the sort of risk and your day-to-day tasks. Moving on then to sort of risk and compliance experts who can really sort of guide the support internally for yourselves. And then the third line is more of the sort of internal audit division. But each role plays a pivotal and crucial role in ensuring that your business operations and data remain secure and recoverable. And it's about each organisation really understanding where they sit as part of that strategy internally as well. So this was the traditional model that we tended to see. But with the real shift in technology and the advancements that we've seen in recent times, mainly the new buzzword, of course, AI being everywhere, this has kind of changed the landscape a little bit for these sort of internal stakeholders in terms of how they actually communicate, not just with each other, but make sure that they are maintaining the business operations and data. So AI is something that we've introduced, of course, into our solution as well, but it's something, again, that businesses are becoming a lot more, I would say, savvy to as time has gone on, and almost need to be embracing now, as opposed to before, where it was maybe something that we were, almost fearing or moving away from. Just a couple of stats to go through on the screen. So 50% of outages within organizations are now due to cyber attacks. So this really is the big picture at the moment, and the fact that cyber incidents, they're no longer just an IT threat or incident, and they are a board level concern. I think the average ransomware attack or ransomware payment that was made by organisations last year was 3 million. But it's not just the cost that you're looking at, it's also the reputational damage and brand credibility that comes from you almost giving in to these cyber criminals. So yeah, this is just to give you an idea of the sort of effect that you can see there. Also, of those who were attacked, 69% of these organisations reported getting hit more than once. So again, this almost re-emphasises the fact that these cyber criminals are becoming much more advanced and sophisticated in terms of how they breach organisations. It's not a case of anymore where it was almost, if you were to be hit, you might have a chance then of being more resilient or more secure when you're able to come back. This is now something where organisations are being constantly targeted, and it's becoming more and more difficult for them to recover from these incidents. And the last one here, just to give you an idea of the attacks and the businesses that are impacted depending on the size of the organisation. And this is really just to reiterate that nobody is safe. You might only hear about it in the news when it is these big corporations that we use on a day-to-day basis. But this just shows you that no matter the size, whether you're an SMB or a large-scale enterprise, ransomware has no target or demographic. It will go for absolutely everybody. So it's important to make sure that you have that strategy in place. So the way Veeam almost break down data resilience is into 5 pillars. So starting off with backup. Of course, backups are normally the primary target for ransomware and cyber criminals. So it's important to make sure you have something that's, of course, fully secure, encrypted, and immutable that can be provided by Veeam. Recovery, there's no point in having your data protected if there isn't a mechanism for you to not just recover that data, but make sure that it's done abruptly and quickly to minimize downtime and impact to your organization. Portability is really a massive sort of ethos within Veeam. We pride ourselves on not aligning to a specific hypervisor or cloud provider. Whether you're working on-premise, in the cloud, or a hybrid model, using our Veeam Data Platform core product, you've got the ability to leverage or migrate licenses across hypervisors or as you transition to the cloud. So we really support you on every step of that journey. So that's something important from our side. From a security standpoint, all data is of course fully encrypted and immutable as standard within Veeam. And intelligence, just in terms of how we're now leveraging AI tools and our Coveware recon scanner that's built into our products to ensure that you're getting the correct metrics and output from the solutions that you get from Veeam. And with this, I'll hand over to Nick to go through the technical overview.
Yeah, hopefully not too technical for the audience. Try and cover lots of products, or certainly under the Veeam suite, we've got lots of products now, and I'm going to try and touch on what I can. Always interesting to come here. Certainly to Manchester, it's local for me. Different audience for us, so it's interesting to come across people that don't know Veeam, have not used us in the past. So I'm going to try and touch on as many things as I can in probably the 15 minutes that we've got left. So audience participation, you're going to hate this bit, but I'm here between you and lunch. I'm going to start with everyone with their hands up, and I'm going to eliminate you with 4 questions, hopefully. So everyone get your hands up. Brilliant. So anyone who's using native Azure, so full cloud, PaaS services, virtual machines, put your hands down. I'm not interested in you guys. Anybody running hybrid? Anyone that's on premises and a bit of cloud? Brilliant. You can put your hands down. Anyone got single sign-on enabled? So you're leveraging Entra ID as a method of authentication? Brilliant. Don't need you now. Anyone running M365? Right. You can put your hands down. If you are running M365 and you are not protecting it, you need to talk to us on the stand. We've got a great product that can fit in there for you. We've probably ended up with nothing, nobody's got their hands up, which is really interesting. So I've done this a couple of times before. You might end up with the odd person that's not, still got the hand up, still waiting for that fifth question. Effectively, the reason why I'm talking about this is Entra ID, because it underpins everything that we've spoken about. All those different applications, all those different ways of leveraging all cloud platforms, but specifically, I'm going to touch on Azure. So, Entra ID is an element of instant identity access management. It underpins everything. Your organizations will use it for authenticating you, your devices, your services. You'll have software applications that will leverage it, and it really is important that you look after it. The other thing I need to mention is shared responsibility model, which again, I think I've had conversations already on the stand about that. So when you take up something like Microsoft 365, for instance, there's a click-through agreement, everyone goes through, ticks the box, everyone's fine, and you assume everything's all good. The thing with cloud providers, and they're all the same, is they're looking after the platform. They're looking after the infrastructure that is underneath. All the data that sits on it is your data, it's your responsibility. What's interesting about Entra ID is that's still your responsibility. So even if you had a hybrid model and you've got local Active Directory protection, hopefully with Veeam, it might with somebody else, that is not protecting your Entra ID. It's the keys to the castle, and that's part of the problem, or something you need to be really aware of. So we've got some statistics. Again, a little bit old, this one, so 2021. Entra ID, according to Microsoft, they were attacked per day 50 million times. That's somebody trying to get into Entra ID. Anyone has the guess what the 2024 number? I haven't got anything for this year, so this is last year's data. Anyone want to shout a number out? 50? We've got 600 million, so you're a little bit high. If we're having an auction, you've won. But yeah, 600 million is an awful lot of attacks. And that doesn't include misconfiguration. That's somebody having a bad day. Monday morning, Friday afternoon, they go in, make a change. Oops, that wasn't really what I wanted to do. Someone goes on holiday, they come back, they can't get into the security anymore, they're in the member of a wrong group. All those things happen. You get people that are randomly deleted, and you have outages. Again, cloud providers, they would absolutely say they're up there 24/7, but we all know occasionally they're offline for various reasons. And the recycle bin will not always save you. Again, we've had conversations at the desk already. Microsoft and every platform will have a recycle bin. Some things will go in the recycle bin, typically not everything, and the things you're looking for, chances are they will not be there when you come looking for them. So, reason for talking about Entra ID and sort of a bit of a segue is to talk about Veeam Data Cloud. We're here about the future of cybersecurity, and something that Veeam have done is listen to our market. We've been around for nearly 19 years now. We've number one in Europe, UK, and globally now. And we've listened to what the customers have wanted from us. So we've been predominantly, for many, many years, an on-premises solution, and we've been able to shift that data into cloud platforms. What we've looked at now is the demand from customers to have an easy, seamless integration. They may not have anything on premises anymore, or they may be transitioning to a full cloud platform. So what we've introduced here is a new investment for us, a new business arm. It launched effectively a soft launch probably about 18 months ago, but we've done a much bigger launch this year. We've got products coming between now and the end of 2025, and then several more that have been included in 2026. So the heart of Veeam Data Cloud is about holding your data and having it in an immutable and air-gapped location, because that's your best defense against anything happening, whether it's a mistake by an employee, an attack by an employee that's a bit disgruntled, they're going to leave the business, or they're not having a good time, or worst of all, a cyber criminal that's going to dive in and try and either take your business away or ruin that reputation that you've got. So underpinning Veeam Data Cloud is this idea of immutable data. We've also got zero trust. I think you'll hear about that a few times today if you've not heard about it already. So that's our approach to all this. So we have an element of credentials that we hold, so we look after and manage that whole platform, and then you as a consumer can then consume that just as a service, either on a per terabyte or a per user basis, depending on which of the modules you actually sign up to having. So just to identify what we are covering, so I'll step out of the way for a minute. So in this new platform, we've got Microsoft 365. We wrap Enter ID in there as well. Microsoft Azure, these may be familiar questions to what I've just mentioned just a minute ago. So all the PaaS services and virtual machines that come in Azure, we can protect. There is very likely next year going to be other cloud providers in there, but today that's the one we're supporting. Salesforce, a little bit unusual. We've got customers that are huge in Salesforce and many customers that have never heard of it, never use it. And finally, Veeam Vault. Veeam Vault is a bit of a bridge for us. So all of those services that I've just described, we store the data in that immutable air-gap format in something called Veeam Vault. This is a joint venture, I guess, between Microsoft and Veeam. They did an injection of cash and investment into us earlier on this year. And all the data that we protect goes into this Vault scenario. The reason why I call it a bridge is that if you're a traditional Veeam user, so you might have Veeam on premises and you want to ship data off-site, we now have a perfect opportunity. So it's part of the built into the product. You can launch the wizard and you can start sending data off into the Veeam Vault. It's then not a DIY solution. No offense to that, but you need to manage your user credentials, your access rights. Microsoft and AWS and Google Cloud, they all change those requirements it feels like sometimes on a monthly basis, and you've got to keep on top of that. We will handle all of that for you with Veeam Vault. The other big release, which is very fortunate for the date that we've got of this event, I think this launched 2 weeks ago now, just to the day. A big change for Veeam. So I've said 19 years in the business, we've been predominantly on premises. But again, we've relied on a Windows operating system to have that install. We've relied on you as a customer or a reseller to then go and install and manage that platform. What we've released with the software appliance, after 2 years of development and something like a 60% rewrite of the code, is a deployable, hardened, pre-hardened appliance that you can download as an ISO and install on commodity hardware. So out the box, it's safe, secure, and ready to use. So I don't know if anyone's seen Veeam before, if you've used it. What we've tried to do is we've sort of had a nod to the old Veeam, so everything looks like it's like you used to see it, but everything's a nice web interface now. We've got a coffee morning dashboard, as you can see in front, basically highlighting what's broken, what's not, what's protected, what isn't. Really nice just to start first thing in the morning. Hopefully with things that are working and not broken. The other thing I should talk about is some of the headline features. So I've been around Veeam, so certainly employed by Veeam for 8 years. I've been using Veeam for a lot longer than that. I probably go back maybe about 15 years now. And something that has been asked for many, many times is high availability and clustered services. So that's been introduced with this new appliance. I mentioned about being a pre-built, pre-hardened Linux deployment. So we've termed something called Just Enough OS. So we've taken, it's actually Rocky Linux under the hood. We've stripped it back. We've taken out any of the bloatware, any of the services that are not required for Veeam, and we deploy that as a hardened package. All the updates for the operating system, so the Linux operating system and Veeam, will be provided by us, installed by us, managed by us. You can kick the can down the road for a while, but eventually we will just make you install those updates. We don't want you to go too long without putting an update on. Typically, security updates are massively important for your protection and ultimately for everybody's. And finally, DISA and STIG, there are an American security standard. It's a framework. So we've done a lot of work with the American defense, and this is a standard that they require, and we now adhere to it. So out of the box, you can download the appliance, and we are pre-built and signed off for that standard. Just a couple of things to talk about. We've increased the options for role-based access control. So again, going back to that, someone's having a bad day and they might have to make a change. What we can do now is actually restrict those changes. We have multiple users that can be involved. We can have a role-based access that could be individual if you needed it, or certainly groups of people that are allowed or not allowed to do certain functions. To complement that, we've got a security officer in there as well. So that is a person who's not involved in the backup. They're a security person. They would sit on a completely different board, different responsibilities, but sometimes you'll want to do something that's fundamental to Veeam, something to the way it's installed or configured, and we now require that person to dial in and use MFA to confirm that is an authorized change. Third-party identity provider, it would be, you wouldn't talk about Enter ID and then not say we support it, so we actually do support it. If Enter ID is compromised, there are other ways in. We have other options because we are looking after that data for you. If you're in an instant where your Enter ID has been completely destroyed and you can't log into anything anywhere, you can get through support, we can do some of that recovery, and we can get you back and working again. And pre-hardened, I've mentioned several times already. I'm just going to hand back to Luca. You can do a next couple of slides. Thank you.
Perfect. Cheers, Nick. So essentially, Nick's just gone through a little bit there on not just product roadmap, but essentially what we have available within our portfolio as of today. What we're still working on, we touched on this at the beginning, is again, we want our customers to have more confidence in their resilience and data protection strategy. So we've put something together called the Data Resilience Maturity Model. This isn't a product that you buy from Veeam. It's more of an engaged sort of partnership and workshop that we run with you and your teams to really benchmark kind of how your resilience is, or what level you are compared to maybe similar verticals or organizations of a similar size. The way we've done this, so we've worked with McKinsey and we've spoken to over 500 organizations to build out a model of exactly who sits where within this process. And you can really break it down into three factions. So you have your technology, ideally from Veeam, but we're responsible for, of course, providing the data protection, recoverability, and the backups. But it's also important that even without the technology, you need to make sure that internally your people and process and the strategy that you're working towards and looking to achieve needs to be aligned. And sometimes there can be a disconnect there between, let's say, cybersecurity or infrastructure teams. So with this model, we really want to bring everybody together so there's almost a unified approach to how you will look at this. So how do we measure it? We simply break it down into 4 tiers. So going from Horizon 1 up to Horizon 4. If you were at number 1, it essentially means you're reactive and manual, and there's certainly room for growth in your resilient strategy. Horizon 2, slight improvement, where you do have something that's reliable in place, but still quite limited, and definitely gaps that you could improve. As we move up to 3, this is more mature and adaptive, where most organizations would really aim to get to, and last being self-optimizing, and your strategy being completely in place. Just to show you the information on the screen here, so this was from 500 organizations, you can see that most organizations do sit in the first 2 tiers. So this is really to illustrate that if you're sat in the room today and maybe you are concerned about the strategy or lack thereof, you're not alone in this, and most organizations are actually in a very similar situation. And from Veeam's side, we're really here to guide you on that journey and make sure that you can get to that next stage or up to Horizon 3 and Horizon 4. And the last point to touch on here is that those that were in the Horizon 4 stage, they were able to achieve 7 times faster mean to recovery. So in those situations where there is a disaster or there is an outage, they're back on their feet in 7 times the speed compared to the rest of these organizations. So it's really critical, and it's something that we can work alongside your team with to really benchmark and see where you sit at this point. I'll hand back over to Nick just to touch on the next couple of slides.
Yeah, I'm just going to wrap up now, I guess, from our point of view. I just want to, again, we speak to a lot of people here that have never heard of Veeam before, so very, very quickly, just to cover, I guess, our capabilities. So before backup, so for that is your running environment, we have several options in there. One of the things I want to pull out there is our Corveware Recon Scanner. Effectively, what we can do is we have an application that can sit on your network and can look at or sit on your servers within your network and look for those tools that you probably use, little third-party tools that you use for moving files around. They're really useful to have. They might not be authorized by the organization, but it's no problem because you can just move, you can install them and uninstall them. What we have is a piece of software. We leverage Corveware, which is actually an acquisition we made a couple of years ago. And their tool will look at these little third-party tools that are installed in many, many places and actually rate them on a point of, this tool could be used by an intruder, or it could be used, or maybe it wasn't there last week, but now it has appeared. So it's a really good benchmark just to see if something is changing in your environment before you have any actual incidents that occur. During backup, again, we have AI ransomware detection. So we're the only vendor in the market to actually scan scan backups while you are doing the backup. So effectively, we fingerprint the backups on each time we run those backup runs, and then when we do the next run, we'll look at the changes between that and the day before or the previous run, wherever that happens to be. We have that fingerprint analysis to say, is it the same, is it slightly different, or is it fundamentally different? And there's several triggers that we can do. We won't ever stop the backup. So you might be infected, you might be run rampant with a virus infection or a cyber attack, but we will still back up those platforms because that might be your last resort. That might be the last time you get back to that data. And there are other things we can do to help you along the line. Post-backup, so once we've got the backups, we've got them safe, secure, they're in an immutable format, we might want to scan them. So again, we add that in. That can be a scheduled scan, that can be part of a scheduled job, that can be randomly pick machines out of your network, or can be something that you do at a recovery point. So when you're actually recovering data, we can scan that. We would always recommend using a different AV product. So we actually bundle under the hood, we bundle an AV product. So as long as it's not matching the one that you're using in production, then that's ideal. You get two sets of eyes, one running on your live production and one before we do the restores. Down the middle, there's just a few brand names that I'm sure sometimes we see these out in the auditorium today, but maybe not as much on today's event. But we do work with third-party products and suppliers out there. We leverage these partners because they are the best in class at what they do. We are the best in class at what we do, and we try and just work together. So we have an API structure where we can send our data. So typically we'll send like syslog data out to these third parties. They can do the analysis. They're going to be much better at doing that analysis. They might even employ real humans, not AI, to actually pick up the phone and do some investigation, and then they can get hold of you and say, we think there's something happening. We can also accept data the other way. So we have an API now that can be driven by a third-party product that can do an ad hoc backup in the middle of the day if they detect there's something going wrong. So you don't have to wait for the 10 p.m. when a backup job runs. If there's something detected, we'll run a backup. If it was a false positive, it doesn't matter. It's just an extra backup. But that could, again, be the last chance you get to your data. And just across the bottom, Corveware, like I said, that was a purchase we made a couple of years ago. A really interesting bunch of people. They are effectively hostage negotiators and ex-FBI, military. If you're unfortunate enough to be in the middle of a cyber attack and everybody's panicking, you can pick up the phone and talk to these guys. They've got an SLA of 15 minutes, providing you've signed up beforehand. They will take over that negotiation. They will talk to the cyber criminals. The chances are they talked to them last week or last month as part of a different cyber attack. They will handle all that for you. They will negotiate down. So you might have an initial demand from that ransomware of X millions. They will try and negotiate it down over a period of time, and they are very successful. I can't remember the exact stats, but there's a huge drop in actually what is paid out. Under the hood, they are constantly trying to decrypt that data without getting the key from the cyber criminals, because there's no guarantee the key you get is actually going to work. So because we deal with so many cyber attacks, we have keys and we have software that has been run before, and we will in the background try and decrypt your data. If we're successful, just hang up the phone, walk away with your data. If we're unsuccessful, we'll carry on negotiating down that path. I guess last slide from me. I know we're running out of time. I've actually lost my display now, but I think we've got a couple of minutes left. It's all about customer choice. So if you want to run Veeam on premises, if that's what you used to, if that's what you're currently paying for, absolutely carry on doing it. It's, we wouldn't be where we were without the people that have been buying Veeam for 19 years. If you want to look, if you're new to Veeam and you want to look at Data Cloud as a software as a service platform, again, have a look, talk to us on the desk, or go to veeam.com and have a look at the products that we've got available. If you want to run a hybrid, we're absolutely happy with that as well. What we're trying to deliver is a resilient platform that will protect you as much as is possible from those cyber attacks, either internal or external.
I suppose the last slide that we'll lead you with is just where Veeam sits in the market. So we mentioned at the start, we are the market leader in data protection globally, and we've been number one on the Gartner Magic Quadrant now for 6 years in a row. And we're not there by chance or by luck. It's through the technology that Nick's been presenting throughout the slides, and really the trust that organisations have in us, which can be recognised there by our Net Promoter Score being plus 75. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's essentially a widely used metric to benchmark or to really sustain how likely an organisation would recommend you to another organisation for their service. So the fact that we're at plus 75, higher than organisations like Apple, is a really key attribute for us, and the fact that we instill confidence in our customers, not to just continue to use us, but to also recommend to similar organisations as well. Almost 500,000 customers globally, and we're continuing to grow that as well. So yeah, we just wanted to leave you with this slide so that you can see kind of where we sit within the market. Obviously, there won't be time for Q&A here, but we'll be on the stand for the rest of the afternoon. So just shout me or Nick whenever you get 5 minutes, and we're more than happy to chat to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, everybody.